tapestry can tell a story through imagery or serve as an abstract decoration. In weaving, the term piqué or marcella refers to a style characterized by the use of raised cording to create designs within the fabric. This type of weaving was developed as a mechanized process in the late 18th century, although the technique was first employed through attaching cording with hand embroidery. Today, I will show you how to add an extra layer of surprise to a piqué weaving by using clay coils instead of cording. Crayola Model Magic is used to provide a raised surface, and when adhered directly to the warp of a weaving, creates raised patterns on the woven surface. Some areas can be left unwoven to further create visual difference within the tapestry. Begin with a cardboard loom. Start by opening up the notches of the loom. I'm using thin hemp cord here, but really just about any thin cording can be used. Now to wrap the warp, simply push through the notch and loop around. This creates an almost zigzag sort of pattern. Continue wrapping and looping to the end of the loom. The warp should be taut, but not too tight. There should be enough room to put your hand beneath. Setting the loom aside, once the warp is all wrapped, take out your Crayola Model Magic and roll a piece into a coil. The coil should be small, but not too small, about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch in diameter, and long enough to create a design. Shape a design with the clay coil, and the shape will need to have at least 3 points of contact with the surface. But essentially, it can be any shape. Abstract designs, 3D shapes, words, basically just about anything you could imagine making with a coil. It can be helpful to size up the clay piece with your cardboard loom to make sure the design works visually and will adhere to the warp. Pieces can extend from the weaving, but it helps to do a little planning before the clay dries. Once the clay is dry, it can be adhered to the warp with just a few drops of tacky glue. To ensure it does not stick to the cardboard loom, I've placed a piece of plastic between the warp and the cardboard. But you could also use a sheet protector, a piece of Durlar, or even a piece cut from plastic tarp or shopping bag. Apply just a few drops of tacky glue to the dried clay coil and press. Once dry, you can begin weaving. I have a piece here that I've already started, and I'm going to choose a new color of yarn. Using a blunt tapestry needle, which is an extra long plastic needle with a large eye that allows me to weave the entire piece in one pass. Thread the needle and begin weaving in an under-over pattern. When you get to the clay coil piece, you can decide to go underneath of it, leaving it exposed, or to conceal it with the yarn. I'm going to conceal this piece. Now, I chose Model Magic as the clay for this project because it remains fairly flexible when dry. It has a sponge-like consistency, and other air dry clays that dry to a more solid state would crack or even break off of the loom entirely when weaving. The flexibility of the clay allows the piece to move with the weaving. The yarn should be pulled tightly, but not so tightly that it pulls the warp inwards, making that hourglass shape. Continue weaving until the piece is complete. I have a piece here that is complete and ready to be tied off and removed from the loom. Tie the loose ends together. I like to use a square knot. So I go over and under, starting from the right side, and then over and under from the left side, creating a flat knot that disappears into the rest of the weaving. Trim the edges and continue to tie off the ends. Sometimes you are left with only one yarn tail. When that happens, leave it until the end and secure it with a drop of glue after removing from the loom. To finish, simply pull the tabs back where the warp is looped around. Once the weaving is free on one side, pull the tab and just do a loop knot. Again, continue all the way down the piece. Once finished, a dowel rod can be threaded through the loops, like so. The bottom strands can be tied and cut, or they can be secured and tucked behind the piece. Well, I sure hope you enjoyed taking your weaving into a new dimension. For a full list of materials, as well as a free lesson plan PDF with national art standards and step-by-step instructions, go to dickblick.com/lesson plans. While you're there, be sure to check out our other hundreds of free lessons and videos.